latest in tech and accessibility. This is Access Tech Live with Scott and Marc Aflalo.
Hey guys, welcome back. I am Scott. Marc Aflalo is with me, and we're going to break down Apple's scary fast. Actually, hang on, let me do that properly. Apple's scary fast event. That's how you've got to do it. I think that's the yeah. You've got to do all that nonsense because it was around Halloween and it was very scary and scary fast. We'll get to the fast part in a moment. I want to get to the evening part though. What was Apple doing? Because, in the UK, we've just had the time change, right? So we're in winter now, which is great. And actually did help a little bit because initially it was going to be 1 a.m. in the UK, and then it turned out it was actually midnight.
Not everything is about Stephen Scott. Not everything is about Stephen. Sometimes they've got to accommodate us East Coasters. Not accommodate. You know what? It worked out perfectly. I was on a plane returning from Edmonton. I waited an hour for my bags, and I still made it to the event that went by like that snap of my fingers. It was like over before it started. I don't know what was going on there. This is one of these events where I think could have been done in a press release. Sorry, Apple, but I mean, you need some opinion here. But you know, nonetheless, it gives people something to talk about, especially the fact that they shot that whole thing on an iPhone. Can you imagine that? The whole thing on an iPhone.
Yeah, on an iPhone, but with, you know, like, I don't know, $1 million
stabilization,
worth of equipment
gimbals, lighting, drones.
Yeah, so
okay. So next event shot on iPhone, handheld by Bob.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, get Tim to just do a selfie the next time.
Yeah.
That would be cool, right? That would work.
Yeah, then we'll definitely be excited about it. But honestly, I guess the biggest thing that Apple wanted to get out were the introduction of these new M3 chips. These are faster processors. These are processors that are built on a different architecture. There's different sizes of architecture when it comes to chip manufacturing. And this was a 3 nanometer architecture, which means physically the chips are smaller, but they could fit more on it. You know, the rule of, you know, basically as technology grows, it started with hard drives that were 1 megabyte that fit into a giant office. And now that fits onto your thumbnail. So this is the real reason they made this announcement, so they can kickstart the adoption of these M3 chips across their product line, which I think
is great.
Cool. But
I want to ask you about this because, look, from the geeky point of view, we all get rather excited about, ooh, M3, great. But, you know, there's people at home saying, hang on, I've just bought a new Mac, or I've got an old Mac. Maybe it's a 2017 iMac or a MacBook Pro or a MacBook Air or whatever. And, you know, they're looking at these announcements and thinking, okay, so if I upgrade, what am I getting? Because it just feels like every 5 minutes there's another new processor, there's another reason to buy another Apple product. So what's the deal here? Why is this so important an announcement?
I mean, it's important announcement because it is the natural evolution of what Apple is committing to, which is switching all their ecosystem to their own processors. It gives them more control. It has brought the price down of some of these higher end products. You're not spending all this money on third-party licensing and stuff like that when you use somebody else's graphics card or someone else's processors. So it does help on that. And it gives Apple a little bit more control of the whole ecosystem, which we know we talk about is kind of important, especially in Apple's walled garden. What it means for the casual consumer, I mean, if you're going to go out and buy something today, then buy something with an M3 chip. Does it mean that it made that M2 chip or that M1 chip even obsolete? Absolutely not. Because the M1 chip was so ahead of its time and so much faster than what was on the market that other companies are still catching up. And the big important piece of the puzzle here is that Intel is, you know, yes, they've been kind of fledgling behind. So has, you know, other competitors out there, but they're about to make some announcements in the coming months and catch up. So this was Apple's opportunity to get a little bit ahead of that, a little bit ahead of their earnings call, which is happening in a couple days, and have something to talk about as we lead into the holiday season. Is it a pivotal announcement? Not really, but the chips are here and this is where we go.
And let's talk about the MacBooks themselves, because of course they announced two new editions, the same models, right? So it's the same design, it's the same style, 14-inch, 16-inch. It does mean, of course, the end of the 13-inch MacBook Pro, which has the touch bar. Good riddance to the touch bar. Thank goodness. Exactly. Goodbye. Get out. But 14-inch, 16-inch, that's the future. And a new color, Mark. A new color, which for some reason, I watched the event and I'm thinking everything up to this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. Then they said it's available in space black, and I'm like, I've got to have one of those. I've got to have that.
They've been struggling to make a black colored device for quite some time that doesn't either scrape off or get fingerprints all over it. So this is attempt number, I don't know, I'd have to go back and catalog it, but this is yet another attempt at trying to get it out there. And you know, I read one article that said, you know, they need a little bit more than just, you know, doing the chips to identify that there's something new. Whenever a product is launched, a new product is launched that you're going to carry out into the world, there's some kind of identifying feature on it that says, oh, this is the latest and greatest. And this is going to be that standout feature, which is this space black. We'll have to see hands-on. I know you ordered one, so next week maybe we can talk about it and show it on camera and see what that's like. But you know what? I found the new iMacs to be a little bit more significant, because iMacs are these all-in-one computers that are available in all these different colors, no space black, and in everybody's homes. They're kind of like the go-to Mac if you want to get something for your home, that or the Mac Mini, but it has, you know, built-in screen, all-in-one design. So getting this update, because it hasn't been updated in quite some time, to these latest M3 processors is a pretty big deal, because these are the entry-level computers that you want to throw on your kid's desk, that you want to throw in the kitchen and be the centerpiece. And I think those are quite exciting.
They are, and of course, like you say, it's an updated processor, same design though, nothing new, same colors as well, so nothing's really changed in terms of the iMac, but the power inside it has. Again though, if you've got that M1 iMac sitting on your table, there's no need to just swipe it off the table, let it fall to the ground and break, and say, do you know what, just forget that trash, let's move on to something new. There's no need for that, right? Because at the end of the day, these machines are still very good. And, you know, I think it's really important to mention that, because I think there's a FOMO, that fear of missing out that comes with all of this.
Oh, yeah.
I know I have it. But we're geeks. That's okay, right? But for average consumers, there's this push to buy more, and it's not always needed.
I should mention something I totally forgot. On the MacBook Pro side, they have this new entry-level one that just has the M3 chip, so it's not an M3 Pro or Ultra or anything. There is another difference on that actual computer. Even though it looks the same, it only has 2 of the Thunderbolt USB-C ports, not 3 like on the higher end, and that's because of just the bandwidth of that chip itself. So that is the other slight difference to that lineup, which is interesting. But you know what, Stephen? Accessibility. I mean, Sarah Herlinger, you had a great conversation just to start, and we've got more with her coming up in a second. I wanted to remind people about the question of the day, because it's a fun question, and we're getting some great responses on various social medias like Mastodon, for example. So the question is, what one piece of movie tech from our past do you wish came true? And I got to throw one out here, which is Jarvis. This is the obvious one, you know, Iron Man's, AI. So Goku 54 writes, Jarvis, having something like that advanced could be really helpful. We'll get to your questions and so much more, but the second part of your conversation with Apple's head of accessibility, Sarah Herlinger, is coming up next right here on Access Tech Live.
We want to hear from you. Follow us on social media and get involved at Access Tech Live. We'll be right back.